best-kept secret of the Egyptian court. The lord of the two lands, one of the most powerful men of his time, would sacrifice lives, the lives of others, of course, that's always the way with kings, to obtain all the books in the world for his great library in Alexandria. He was chasing the dream of an absolute, perfect library, a collection that would gather together every single work by every single author since the beginning of time. I am always afraid to write the first lines, to enter inside a new book. When I have explored all the libraries, when my notebooks are bursting with fevered jottings, when I can no longer think of any reasonable excuses, or even nonsensical ones to keep waiting, I still put it off a few days, during which I understand what cowardice really means. I simply don't feel like I can. Everything should be there: tone, sense of humour, poetry, rhythm, promises. I should be able to glimpse the still unwritten chapters, struggling to be born, where the seeds of the first chosen words have been sown. But how is it done? Right now I feel heavy with doubts. With every book, I go back to the beginning, and my heart races as if it were the very first time. To write is to try to find out what we would write if we wrote, says Marguerite Duras, moving from the infinitive to the conditional and then to the subjunctive, as if she could feel the ground splitting beneath her feet. It isn't so different, in the end, from any of the things we start doing without knowing how to do them: speaking another language, driving, being a mother, living. After all the agonies of doubt, after exhausting every possible delay and excuse, one hot July afternoon, I faced the void of the blank page. I've decided to open with the image of some enigmatic hunters stalking their prey. I identify with them. I appreciate their patience, their stoicism, the time they have taken, their steadiness, the adrenaline of the search. For years, I have worked as an academic, consulting sources, keeping records, trying to get to know the historical material. But when it comes down to it, I'm so amazed by the true and recorded history I discover that it seeps into my dreams and acquires, without my volition, the shape of a story. I'm tempted to step into the skin of those who travelled the roads of an ancient, violent, tumultuous Europe in pursuit of books. What if I start by telling the story of their journey? It might work, but how can I keep the skeleton of facts distinct beneath the muscle and blood of imagination? The initial idea seems to me as fantastical as the journey in search of King Solomon's mines or the Lost Ark, but historical documents show that in the megalomaniacal minds of the kings of Egypt it was truly possible. It might have been the last and only time, there in the 3rd century BC, that the dream of gathering all the books in the world, without exception, in a universal library could become a reality. Today, it seems like the plot of a fascinating, abstract story by Borges, or perhaps his great erotic fantasy. In the era of the Great Alexandrian Project, there was no such thing as an international book trade. Books could be bought in cities with a long-standing cultural life, but not in the young Alexandria. Sources tell us that the kings used the immense advantages of absolute power to enrich their collection. What they could not purchase, they seized. If throats had to be slit or harvests laid waste to get hold of a coveted book, they ordered that it be done, telling themselves that their country's splendour was more important than minor scruples. Of course, deception was part of the repertory of things they were willing to do to meet their goals. Ptolemy III coveted the official versions of the works of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, preserved in the archives of Athens since their earliest performances at theatre festivals. The Pharaohs' ambassadors asked to borrow the valuable scrolls to have them copied by their meticulous scribes. The Athenian authorities demanded the exorbitant security deposit of 15 talents of silver, an equivalent today of millions of dollars. The Egyptians paid up, gave extravagant thanks, solemnly swore to return the loan before, shall we say, 12 moons had passed, threatened them.